a lot of guys grab the wrist like this, and what happens, they try to jerk it out. Okay, but what can happen here, this can be really hard. And when you go to do it, a lot of guys do it, is they lean into the guy. If you lean into him and try to pull, you're gonna get rolled, okay? You don't wanna be doing that. This takes a lot of work. I'm gonna use his anatomy against him, all right? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch and get my grip here. So this right here, all I have to do is straighten, and he's gonna go down. And when I have this grip like this, and he tries to sit up, he can't sit up because of his anatomy of his arm. If I have this, he can sit up, and then he's gonna constantly attack me. He's gonna constantly be in play. So how you grab the wrist and pin it down is basically based on how much he's in the fight and how much energy you're gonna use, okay? Another part to this is understanding the difference between a whizzer and an overhook, okay? The whizzing power, whizzer is like whizzering down. I'm trying to pressure down, okay? An overhook is pulling up. That's an overhook, okay? This next technique, we're gonna use the overhook with the upward wrist grip and putting him down. And what that would do is lean him vulnerable so I can actually go for the arm and guillotine off the pass, which is a great move, all right? So I'm gonna demonstrate how to get into it, and then we're gonna spend some good time on learning the grips, because the arm and guillotine, if you do it right, is an awesome choke, and it will be your preference if you're good at it. But most people, they blunder on where to pay attention to it, and they get themselves in hot water. And I don't want you to be one of those people, okay? All right, so once again, he's in half guard, and I'm on top, he gets his underhook. Yay for him. Now, instead of hacking for the whizzer, I'm gonna focus on my balance. I don't wanna be too close for him, so I'm gonna kinda get up high with my overhook, and I'm gonna hit him up, and I'm gonna lower my base. So, I lower my base. Now, what I'm gonna do is I grab his wrist, and I'm gonna dive my head down. So I'm gonna go here, and drive my head into his head. Now, I'm going to keep my weight on his head, and I'm going to stand up and slide by. So this right here is going to keep them pretty jammed up. Notice how I'm up high, okay? So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to start to back them off. That means that I'm going to start to back off my pressure, okay? I'm going to back off my pressure, okay? Slide back. I think we're getting too close. Again, underhook, okay? I'm gonna whizzer, I'm gonna overhook, and I'm gonna push my butt back and get my head under his head. Get my wrist ride. He comes down, my butt comes up, and I'm gonna pass. Now from here, I'm gonna pinch his arm tight, I'm gonna drop my knee on his arm. And my right leg is gonna come back, and I'm gonna go around his head, and I'm gonna grab my own arm. So my right leg comes back, and I lock my arms around his head. Now I'm keeping his arm here, tight as I can physically get it. Okay? Tight as I can physically get it. And then I'm gonna clock and pull him up into my arm and guillotine. And then we're gonna break down more details on how to do this right, how to get your grip right. So I'm here, I lock my grip, and I'm going to start moving my leg backwards and pulling him up. He keeps coming, and get my tap. Okay? All right. Let's just talk right now about the overhook, okay? The arm and guillotine, I always like this teaching tool. You gotta visualize this as you're seeing it, okay? If you have an arm and guillotine, that means you have an arm lassoed around my head and arm. The choke goes from armpit to the neck. So if my arm, if you're choking me and my arm is down, that bar is going here. So if I turn my head, that's your choke. That's not a choke. It's like cranky feeling. You keep this arm high, now that bar goes right across my neck into my armpit. That's like level. That's like there. That's what you need to have. Okay? And you need to exaggerate it if you want it down every time. And which means you need to pull on that arm up. Okay? So how I do this is the inside of my elbow, that little elbow knot, I reach, when I do my overhook, I pinch that. I pinch it hard against his arm. Okay, so when I drill this on guys, I have them lock the overhook and I pinch this and I have them just kind of move. Okay, I'm dragging him. Just from that, I'm dragging him. When we do our finish, I focus more on squeezing this than I do on squeezing his neck. Because as long as his arm is up, he's gonna choke. If his arm starts to come down, he's not gonna choke, and if it gets down to your legs, he's gonna pass you. All right, then you just got passed. It was worth nothing. So you gotta stay tight, all right? Now, getting into the grip. Most people like a good basic grip. This is good. Your grip normally will be if your hand was grabbing his chin and your thumb is on the base just underneath his Adam's apple, okay, or the center of his throat. So when you lock your hands are going to be here like this. Now, to do this properly, everything will be based on how hard you squeeze his head, okay? So just like I'm squeezing the arm tight, when I go around his head, I gotta pinch his head. That will help me to control his head and force it into the choke. If you're just like this and your elbow's away, you gave him so much room to survive and turn his head and try to survive and get and lift the choke. You gotta pinch both elbows. So I'm pinching here, and I grab my hands like now, pinching here. So elbows tight, okay? The other part is you don't want your shoulder all like this, like a side chest pose or a peacock, okay? You want that grandma posture, okay? So when I have this choke, my shoulder has got to cover the back of his neck. So how do I test that to know where I'm at? I put my chin on his shoulder. If my chin is on his back and his shoulder, that means I'm down. If I'm like this, he's going to crane his head out. All right? Most people are willing to choke for only a few seconds. Some, they'll choke until you put them to sleep. So in that time period, they're fighting their butt off to get out. So you can't give any space, especially when you're falling back and giving up position for a finish. So here and here, okay? That's your choke grip. Now, if you're like an MMA fighter, sometimes the gloves will bite you in the butt when it comes to these kind of chokes, okay? My suggestion is go to an S grip, which is really funky, really funky, okay? So my arm will be still tight around the neck. I'm going to go a little deeper, so my forearm's in the throat, and I'm going to lock my S grip. So the arm that's down is kind of here, and now I'm pinching tight on his head. And what this does, it allows me to hold his arm way tighter, and it keeps my fingers protected so he can't try to fight my grip. When you do a finger roll S grip, and you're like this, the reason why it's so great is that he has no fingers to grab. If you're here in a choke, he's got fingers. If he could get free and get to your fingers, that's what he's going to do. You're going to pull your hands apart. So even though this grip is 100% correct, you can do that way, and I do use it. So is the S grip. You just go a little deeper, and you just hug. It allows you to really squeeze the head and arm a little tighter. Okay? So with the gloves, I tend to do S grip. No gi, I'll probably be here, but I still do S grip. They both work. Okay? So that's the grip. Okay? Now the leg work. The leg work is important too. The way I do my arm and guillotine with the leg work is I always want to have a scramble out. I always want a way out. Okay, that's important. You always want to have a way out. Okay. So what I do is I'm okay with him bailing out on position because that allows me to gel to other counters. What I'm not okay with is him double legging, meaning his head's here, hips go to the other side. okay? I'm not okay with that. All right, so I don't like going to full guard with army guillotines, okay? I don't feel good about it, okay? So when I fall back, okay, what I try to do is as I'm clocking back, I like to have this foot, my left foot against his hip, and my right leg over the top. So this gives me some power. But if he can't double leg me. No matter what he tries to do, both my legs are stopping him from trying to get his hips over, because that's what he wants to do. Instead, if he wants to bail out, he can bail out on me, and that gives me opportunities for counters, which we're going to get into as well. Okay? So, in that position, my foot frames, which allows me to also stretch and my legs over the top. I'm never gonna give him this leg or go to guard where he can start taking away my angles. Okay? So, to walk through it one more time. So I'm here, he hits his underhook get up. Boom, good for him. I go overhook and I drop my butt and fight for head position, and I'm gonna look for my wrist. So get head position, wrist. As soon as he hits the ground, I drive into his head and I slide by. Now from here, drop my knee on. All that does is slow down his ability to get up. He's still gonna get up, but he's not gonna be moving fast. Now I pinch his arm, and I step back, and I lock my grip. I'm gonna keep circling as he comes up and block. Okay, you can actually see my hands. That's how much I stretch him. To make sure there's no way in hell he can bring his left arm down to his hip. I don't pull up and keep that sucker tight, and I have my grip. And now I squeeze. Okay?